All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today, I'll be doing my preview and prediction for the Ventures Bowl between Louisiana and Delaware. Louisiana, 3-point favorites, 58.5 is the total. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday, December 17th from Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile. And of course, you got to have a disclaimer: bowl season, constant opt-outs and transfers. Can't guarantee this info will be accurate come kickoff, and predictions can certainly change. Getting things started with the Louisiana offense against that Blue Hens defense. It's a respectable unit for the Raging Cajuns. This is a team that loves to run the football. They're averaging about 40 attempts per contest. Bill Davis, sophomore running back, having another successful season, 743 yards and 6 touchdowns, that is. 8 touchdowns is what Zylan Perry, his backup, has, 664 yards as well. And then Lunch Winfield, the quarterback, has 600 plus in 9 scores. So they have a nice little three-headed monster here. These guys are going to get a bulk of the touches. But no matter where they're at in the goal-to-go situations and short yardage, it's going to be these three guys toting the load for this offense. They're going to look to run the football against a defense that's really not been great for Delaware this season. Can they withstand this rushing attack? It remains to be seen. 164 yards per game allowed. They've been much better over the back half of the year. They only allowed 26 to UTEP in a shootout game, allowed less than 150 to LA Tech and Sam Houston State. Wake Forest had a field day, though, for 263. A much superior opponent, of course, so no slouch there. But they've allowed 200 plus, about 4 different occasions throughout the year, so it's certainly possible, especially against this lethal rushing attack. They don't have the greatest defensive line. Guys like Keyshawn Hunter, Jack Hall have 6 tackles for loss each. Noah Matthews, Dominic Bragda. It's a respectable unit for Delaware. No one that's really going to go above and beyond, though, to be a significant difference maker. It's more of a collective effort from this group. Gavin Mole at linebacker. Not very good in coverage, but he's a really good run defender. Outside of him, there's not anyone else that really gets involved at the linebacking spot that you can really count on. I think Marj Mulomba, he's respectable, though. I think collectively he's been good, but only about 400 snaps on the year compared to some of the other guys that have been playing in the box, sitting at 800 on the year, like KTCA from his safety position, plays a lot of box linebacker. They like to play him in single high looks as well. He's done good everywhere. He's a very efficient tackler, very nice in coverage. So they do have a couple of playmakers here they can lean on. But in terms of creating negative plays, not exceptional at it. Only 24 sacks. It's about 2 a game. The Lafayette offensive line, it's a respectable group. I think this is not where you want to really try and take advantage of them, at least when it comes to the tackles. Those are pretty stout. But on the interior, they've really struggled. It's not that good of a area for them. Right guard's been a big position of weakness. Center, Cooper Fordham's not having that great of a year either. So I think they can definitely look to make things happen on the interior when it comes to limiting this ground game. Louisiana, not really a team that's going to throw the football. Winfield, he's on solid, I guess, 59%, 10 touchdowns for what, is asked of him, 6 picks, 120 yards per game. So, it's just not something they're going to look to do a whole lot. This team's on a 4-game winning streak, though. They've been able to run the football on their opposition quite well, and they've been very good at staying ahead of the sticks, owning time of possession. So that's what they're going to do on this offense. If you look at the pass catchers, Shelton Sampson, 495 yards and 5 touchdowns. Hasn't been as effective over the past couple of games, but again, they're running football contests, so it really doesn't matter. And then limited production from Robert Williams and Charles Robertson. And then the Delaware secondary has not been, the greatest of groups. 20 touchdowns allowed, 247 yards per contest allowed. So Delaware's definitely having their issues in the secondary. Nate Evans, Keyshawn Cox Jr., respectable corners. Evans is having a phenomenal season, though. Moving to the other side of things, you have a Delaware offense on that ULL defense. For the Blue Hens, they have a quarterback who's very underrated, Nick Miniguchi. He's been phenomenal this season, whether it's through the air or on the ground. Delaware's been getting a lot of good play out of him. 63% comp rate, 3,500 yards through the air, 22 touchdowns. He's ran for 10 scores. He used his legs a lot in the red zone. This guy's just a gamer. He makes things happen, especially on third downs. I watched this team numerous times throughout the year, and this guy's impressive. He can play football. He gives this team a fighting chance anywhere, anytime, any place. That includes this bowl game. He's definitely go out there and play with a lot of heart. Their run game isn't all that good. They try, 31 attempts per contest, 115 yards per game. Joe Silver at running back has 536 and 4 scores. Veron Ellison also has 422 yards. Not that productive of a ground game though. It's really going to be what they can do through the air, and they have a lot of production in this past game. Sean Wilson, Kyrie Duplessis, Both have 750-plus yards, a combined 7 touchdowns. Jake Thaw has 3 scores as well with 359. So it's a passing attack. It's got some weapons. They're really good at staying on the field. Third down rate, sitting at about 41%. At some point in the year, that was much higher, but as of late, they kind of struggled. Throughout the last 4 games, they've been under 30% on third down. So it's not been ideal for them, but this is an area that can definitely be a strength for them, and I've seen it throughout the year, especially in conference play, them be really stout in that regard. The Louisiana defense, 30 points per game allowed. The run defense isn't all that great, giving up 189 yards per game on the ground, over 4.5 yards per carry. They've never really been awful over the back half of the year. They only give up 200 plus yards only once over the last about 6 games. And even against James Madison, they held him to under 200 yards. So I think their run defense is definitely a lot better than the number might indicate. Because when they played Missouri early on in the year, they ran for 400 plus yards in that one on them. So I think it's definitely a little bit skewed, but it's definitely not the strongest of groups either. They have some very good playmakers. Jordan Lawson from his defensive end spot, 12 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. Jaden Duggar stepping up at linebacker with 100 plus tackles and 11 TFL. And then you also have Jalen Critter, who has got, as a 290 pounder, 20 tackles, 2 sacks. So those are some of the top playmakers. They can definitely get things done. I think they can be much more resilient against the run than they've shown. Biggest problem is that's not really what Delaware is going to look to do. They're going to look to throw the football. I think they're confident in their secondary. It gives up only about 228 yards per game. I think they have some really good playmakers in the secondary as well, and that's going to make these matchups very fun. Brent Gordon Jr. has been an elite corner this year. I mean, he's been very sound against the run. Very good in coverage. Courtline Flowers as well. He's been a little bit more inconsistent, but he's definitely been having a great year. Still leads the team with 2 interceptions, almost 50 tackles, 3 pass breakups. Gordon, on the other hand, there was a freshman corner with 10 pass breakups this year, so they definitely got a competitive group in the back end that's going to make this one interesting. Tyree Skipper, Jalen Clark, these guys have not been very good at safety in any regard, so I definitely think there's matchups that can be taken advantage of for the Blue Hens. And I think this will be a fun matchup. I think for Delaware, though, their offensive line, it's a group that's been really strong on the interior. They're a little bit weaker at the tackles. So kind of vice versa of, differences when it comes to these two teams' offensive lines, right? The interior is not that great for the Raging Cajuns, but it is for Delaware. So I think that Delaware could look to potentially establish a little bit of a ground game to find some balance. And Minicucci, of course, he's really good in the red zone. They have a lot of these formations that really allow him to do strong things in the red zone. I don't know how much Delaware people have watched this year, but they like to stack the formations as bunched as possible and get tight ends, fullbacks, whatever it is, in front of Minicucci. And it's almost impossible to stop. I mean, you have all these bodies running at you, and there's so much ground to cover. And when you're inside the 5-yard line, it's really hard to do that. It's really hard to track him down and bring him to the ground. So I love what their play calling's about, and that allows them to really be successful. And that's why he has so many rushing touchdowns. He has a big body, almost 220 pounds there from Nick. So I like watching Delaware's offense, and I think they have a pretty strong matchup here. Looking at the final thoughts on the prediction, I'm going to take the underdog. 3-point dogs is Delaware. I'm going to pick them to win the game outright. I've just watched this team at times be incredibly resilient. Minicucci, I think, is going to be the best player on ULL's offense, where they're going to look to run the football. They don't want to throw it a whole lot, and I think that they're going to be held in check more often than not in this one. I think Delaware can make it competitive. Their defense is going to be up for the challenge. I think this team plays with a lot of heart. I know they've had a handful of blowout losses to Wake Forest and Liberty, but I think this is a very good opponent for them that they can match up with. I think they're going to get the job done. I just think their quarterback, again, is the best player on the field. He's going to make enough plays to win this one. I definitely think the over is in play. 58.5. Maybe be careful with that one, but I think Delaware money line is going to be the best bet, and they're going to be a good underdog here early on in bowl season. That's going to be it for today's episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.